Hello everyone. This is Demia Avery with the Demia Avery Show, the industry. Now, this is the show where actors, creatives, and industry professionals come together to talk about the business behind the business. So today we're sitting down with someone who has helped countless actors navigate auditions, self-tapes, and career decisions. He's a working actor, an educator, and the co-owner of Get Taped, one of Atlanta's most trusted resources for actors. We're talking self-tapes, auditions, industry myths, career advice, and maybe even a few stories from behind the scenes. So let's jump right into it. Please welcome Matthew Cornwell. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and what a lovely introduction.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, before we get into it, everything, please tell us a little more about Get Taped. For those who don't know anything about Get Taped, I don't know who that could possibly be, but for those who don't know, and tell us a little bit about your journey and how did you go from engineering to acting and eventually becoming co-owner of one of Atlanta's most trusted actor resources.
Yeah. So as you said, I was an engineer in a former life, and that's actually what brought me to Atlanta. Was I was getting my master's degree at Georgia Tech. Back when I thought that was sort of the logical thing to do with my life was to pursue something that was steady income. I mean, what a novel idea.
Right.
But all through my life, I had been artistic, starting with drawing and painting, and then discovered acting in high school and continued a little bit of in my undergrad. But then when I came to Georgia Tech, I started doing more once I became sort of more familiar with the city. Flash forward to I had a job in a corporate a corporate setting for a couple of years, but by that time I'd gotten my first agent, who I'm actually still with 24 years later. And when I decided to leave that job, which was basically in the consulting world, I decided to just see, with this extra time, can I start to actually put more investment into this career? When, we're talking back in this would have been 2003, 2004, when there still wasn't much of an industry here in Atlanta. But I decided to kind of just keep going with that as long as it seemed viable. And those were the poor years, right? Those were the years of living paycheck to paycheck, and those paychecks coming from 7, 8 different sources. And then in 2005, that's when self-taping kind of started. There was a couple productions that were on the coast, over on the East Coast, like I think Army Wives was maybe starting up, and they started requesting tapes of the agents. And so at the agency that I was at, the owner knew that I was technically proficient, and she asked me to go ahead and help set up the room there because they were asking the agents to put all the actors on tape.
Okay.
And so then I became sort of the de facto technical person who not only set up the physical room, but then was actually the reader for those actors. And sort of those next 5 years was the growth of our TV and film business here in Atlanta as we got the first tax incentive, and then that got revamped, and that's when stuff really started coming here. And so by 2010, which is when my wife and I, Brooke, got married, and she was actually coincidentally doing the same thing at her agency. She was doing the reading for the actors and helping put actors on tape. But by 2010, that became such a drain on the resources of the agencies to continue to do this for the actors, because now it was happening so often. Every day they were having to put actors on tape.
Yeah.
So they had to kind of start to, one by one, the agency started to stop offering that to the actors, which then created a vacuum, a need for actors to figure out, how do I get taped now?
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why we called it that, right? We decided, let's just call it Get Taped. That sounds like a logical name. And
that's so funny. I remember my sister. I remember Jared Avery, for those Jared Avery over at the Avery Agency. I remember her having people come into the office all the time, and it was just so many people. It was back to back, and I can imagine. I was like, oh my goodness. So I remember those times.
Yeah, and not only was it a drain on the resources of like having to have a physical space, the equipment, and then someone dedicated to taping all day,
Mm.
But then, of course, if I'm at my agent's office, I want to pop in and say hello and multiply that by dozens of actors, and then now the agent can't get a day's work done because they're trying to be nice to each of their actors coming through and wanting to steal 5 minutes of their time.
Yeah.
And so it was just sort of inevitable that the agents were going to have to outsource that and sort of put that on the actor. And so we were doing it out of our apartment when we got married, and that started growing from like one a week to one a day, and then it became too much for our
Yeah.
house, to our little apartment. So that's when we first moved into an actual space in
Okay.
2012.
Mhm.
And then just kind of grew from there. We've been through a few different locations as leases came up, and as we needed, a different space, a bigger space. And then it's grown to the point now where we now offer classes and workshops and career consultations and all these
Yeah.
other things. And that's just been sort of the natural growth of our business.
That's amazing. Now I'm gonna rely on your expertise here. So, what's the difference, do you think, between a self tape that gets watched and a self tape that gets remembered?
Ooh, I love the way you phrase that. Because if you get a casting director in a public forum,
Yeah.
they of course are going to say that they watch everything, and not that I would question that integrity at all, but I think it's a very interesting distinction to say, yeah, I watch all of them, but yeah, what do I remember?
Mhm.
What's sort of sticky in my brain?
Yeah.
And part of this is my opinion, but it's also I think the compilation of all of those Q&As that I've attended and interviews that I've seen with casting as well. So it's sort of all of that together, which is, a tape that's remembered is someone that maybe mysteriously, I mean, this feels almost like it's a paradox, that you're just being yourself. I think the tapes or the auditions that stand out for the wrong reasons are when
Mhm.
actors sort of fall victim to this idea that I have to do something. I have to have a gimmick. I have to do something to stand out, and I need to make a bold choice. And then that bold choice is coming from maybe even a point of fear. Like I'm fearing not getting this booking, and so I need to do something drastic.
Yeah.
And so that's a reason to stand out for the wrong reasons.
Mhm.
Um, but the ones that get remembered are the actors who trust that they were requested for a reason, that
Mhm.
they actually fit this role already in some way, and they're in tune with that part of themselves. Like when I get called in for a cop, I know why I'm getting called in for cop.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to make crazy bold choices in order to be memorable. I actually have to do the opposite and start to trust myself,
Yeah.
which sounds so painfully simple, and yet it's very hard for actors to embrace that. And I think the reason is a lot of us get into this business because we love the idea of hiding behind a mask, of putting on a costume, of becoming a character. And so if you tell someone, no, stop trying to put something on, and actually, I just need you to reveal
Yeah.
your true self. That
Yeah.
feels like, oh, that's exposing. I
My
don't
true
want to do that.
self. I'm supposed to be acting. I'm not supposed to show you my true self.
Exactly. And
I love
that's
it.
intimidating to a lot of people until they
Yeah.
realize that is what becomes memorable, is trusting that there is something about this face and this essence that will stick with them if I trust it. But if I try to
Yeah.
mask it and build upon it and distract you with something, that actually can do the opposite and make me go, oh, I really was hoping that this was going to be a good read, and then they move on to the next one.
And that actually brings me to my next question. You kind of touched on it, but if you wanted to add something to it, when people are self-taping, what are they spending way too much time worrying about? And what should they actually be focusing on? You know what I mean?
hmm I think I would say a vast majority are worried too much about the actual lines.
Mm.
And I want to be careful with that, because on the one hand, I fully support and I hold myself accountable to respecting the writer. I want to get into that writer's head to understand why they wrote the character this way. And if it's written not the way I talk, I'm going to do my darndest to figure out how to digest that dialogue and make it feel natural when it does come out of my mouth.
Right.
Um, That said, that's the way you practice, in the rehearsal before you get into the taping room.
Mhm.
And I think too many people are then stepping into that taping room where now it's game time. It's the time to show up and hit that home run, or it's World Cup season. So maybe it's to make that goal. And if you're thinking about those mechanical things of, do I have my lines down? Do I have all these things down? Now I'm in my head and I'm not present in the moment.
Mhm.
And so many actors are carrying that last bit of rehearsal into the room, and it can really get in their way because now they want to do a second take simply because they missed one word
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
weren't able to let go and be free.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the thing that actors, be concerned with it in your prep and in your rehearsal. But it's like when you step into that space, whether it's at home or whether it's in a taping service like this, that's the time to let go. This is the time to play. This is the time to start
Right.
noticing the room and noticing your reader, and then incorporate that into the performance, as
Mm.
opposed to being sort of locked in this
Like,
memory
yeah.
of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Now, just in your opinion, a lot of actors think that success comes down to talent alone. For what you've seen, what do you think separates actors who keep moving forward from those who stay stuck?
Mm. I think all of us are susceptible. All of us actors. I mean, all humans, but in the world of the arts, maybe it's a bigger problem of dealing with the disappointments, because we're putting a piece of ourselves out there every time we audition, and it is hurtful.
Yeah.
It hurts our hearts when we don't get booked, and even if I can intellectually understand that it's for 1,000 reasons that I didn't get booked and it has nothing to do with anything personal,
Right.
even when I can get my mind around that, it still hurts the heart. And so if you have 100 auditions and don't book any, that's chipping away at your sanity sometimes.
Yeah.
And so actors can get really bogged down in that, and that can then understandably make it hard to hang in there. Like the old classic poster of the kitten hanging on a branch and it says "hang in there."
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of eventually you need luck in the industry. There has to be some measure of luck, but I like the old definition of the preparation meeting opportunity,
Right.
that you have to show up to get lucky. And again, understandably, so many actors get worn down that they end up becoming very pessimistic, or they stop doing the work, or they just leave the industry altogether
Yeah.
for greener pastures. And I think it's the ones that sort of build that foundation of training and then understand that it's going to be a marathon, and that it's going to be the long game. And I just need to hang in there, and I do need to keep my mental game in check, because if I allow those no's, those rejections to
Yeah.
wear me down, then I won't be here long enough to actually experience that luck that
Yeah.
will potentially bring success.
Yeah. Now, okay. So let's say, because you talked about preparation, meeting opportunity. Let's say I moved to Atlanta just yesterday. I got a headshot, a resume, and a dream. In your opinion, because I can ask this question to 20 different people and they give me a different answer. What's the very first thing you tell me to do? If that's all I have right now, what would be the first thing that you would tell me to do?
It's interesting because I'm sure you could ask your sister this too. That when an actor comes and is like, "What's wrong? What am I missing? What's the next thing?" And it's sometimes it is the materials. Sometimes, like, even if you have a headshot and a resume, sometimes that headshot isn't good for this market.
Hmm.
So that's sort of like the easy answer because it's tangible. The harder answer is building a network, because if you do have a resume, even if it's just a couple of independent projects, student films, and there's nothing wrong with those, because you do have to start somewhere. And let's say you have a great headshot, and let's say you also have some great training, like
Hmm.
those aren't the weak links, then it is going to be about building a community, which is very tough in this digital age, even in Atlanta, where Southern hospitality does ring true. Like, people are very welcoming and nice here. It can be very difficult to figure out, like, where is my tribe? Who are my people? how do I get plugged in? And so when people do ask me that, sometimes it's about like in the spring is the Atlanta Film Festival, and like just being around other artists and
Yeah.
filmmakers can be a way to start to build that community, or at least expose yourself. I think the 40-hour film project just happened here in Atlanta, but those types of events, anytime you see screenings and public events that you can show up at, to start to rub shoulders with other artists and other filmmakers and other actors. Because if all those other boxes have been checked of like good headshot, somewhat of a resume, and even training, then it really is getting to know people and exposing yourself. And if you come to get tape to tape, right, that's going to cost you money. So I highly encourage people to do all the free stuff, right? Go to the events that are free, the Q&As that are free, and start to get to know your city and your market. Although if you don't have a home setup and you are going to use a taping service, then do the buffet, check out all the taping services, because you're going to find something different about each one. You're going to find the one that really does align with your energy and your vibe, such that you might find that that's a home for you, and you actually start to get to know those people. Because the faster you can build that network, the less you'll feel isolated and sort of wondering what you should be doing. And so, trying to find those resources, which is not always easy. I completely understand.
Yeah. Now, you've worked both as an actor, a coach. Now, what piece of advice do you find yourself giving over and over and over again? But, because they still need to hear it. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, I would say a lot of the when someone asks me for feedback in the room, after let's say they've done a couple takes and we're watching playback, and they're looking for some sort of reassurance or some sort of input, or even in a career consultation, if someone is coming in for that. It's again, it kind of goes back to something that we touched on, which is so much so that so many actors are looking to find something, find that success, find the character. They're in this search, and so often the answer, I mean, it sounds like I'm some sort of Zen guru here, but the answer is within. And what I mean by that is it's so hard to wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and look at that reflection and say, yes, this is what casting is looking for. This face, this personality. And we hear about imposter syndrome that can happen not only at the audition phase, but even on set. So usually the guidance or the feedback that I'm giving is somewhere in that neighborhood of trying to reassure someone, which can be hard to do in 30 seconds when we're in the room between takes, but to reassure someone that no, trust that you are enough. Like the fact that you got called in, and Jara could verify this. The fact that they're auditioning means that not only did Jara believe in that actor such that they submitted them, but casting said, yes, I want to see them for this role. And so it's like you already have two cheerleaders who think you can do this, who think the core of who you are is enough. You need the training, you need all those other things, of course. Craft is important, but so many actors have the craft, have whatever that minimum requirement is. It's more that mindset of they think that it can't be that simple. I have to be doing something on top of that to convince them. And it really is beautiful when an actor comes to that realization that what they showed up with today is enough, and that they can rest in that, and they can even celebrate that, whether or not they book it. But if they can be confident and comfortable with themselves, that's so much of the game right there.
I love that you said that even if they don't book it, to at least just celebrate that you had the opportunity to even do that. I love that, because like you said earlier, that you get that rejection over and over, and that's just part of the game until you will get a yes, but you hear that all the time. So I think that's amazing what you said there. Now I do want to have a little fun. So I might catch you off guard a little bit. So if actors were action figures, what 3 accessories should every actor come with in the box when they come to record with you?
I love that. They'd have to have a cell phone, right, to not only record their audition, but to take that selfie every once in a while, because we all know social media is important. Um, so cell phone, gosh, 20 years ago would have been they had to have a headshot, right, in their
Right.
hand. But nowadays we don't need the physical headshot. Um, Probably because, and for better or for worse, I made sure I was clean shaven today. So maybe something in the realm of I don't want to say vanity, but like for me, it might be a mustache comb. So my
Okay.
action figure would have a little mustache comb to make sure my mustache
Right.
is right. Or it might be a compact mirror, or some sort of a beauty product to touch up last second.
Yeah.
Because until you're on set, when you have everybody else taking care of you, we have to take care of ourselves. And then the third thing let's see, it would be something around self-care in terms of whether it's, what would it be in a physical like form for an accessory? But it'd be something to maybe practice mindfulness, or maybe even like a lavender scented something or other to kind of calm the nerves when you're sitting in the
That's a
audition
good
room.
idea. Yeah.
So a candle, right? So just so that we can do something physical, right? It would be really weird to walk around with a candle, but who knows?
Hey, whatever your method is, whatever works for you, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Now, you've seen a lot of auditions over the years. Now, without saying any names, what's one of the funniest or most memorable moments you've ever witnessed, you think?
Ooh. Um, so we've been taping actors for now over, gosh, it's well over a decade, and so this would have been in one of our first locations. Uh, it was one of these like cute moments of an actor celebrating themselves, which is so rare, but in a way that also revealed their newness. And so the actor did a take, and I was there ready to help them out if necessary. We take the posture of you're here to do your work, so we're not going to interfere. If you engage us and ask us, then if we have any sort of thoughts, we will give them to you. But we really do want to defer to the actor and let them do the work they came to do. And so this actor, he does a take and then he watches playback, and I'm waiting for him to be like, oh gosh, yeah, I need to do that again. But
Mhm.
instead, afterwards, he just kind of there was like this pause as he's staring at himself, and he goes, man, am I trying to win an Oscar here or what? And he was enamored with the performance,
Uh,
and it tickled me because on the one
yeah.
hand, I saw a very green actor who was not ready for prime time,
Mhm.
and so there was a little bit of a gap in understanding there of what would sort of book the role. But I
Mhm.
love the fact that he was able to love himself in that moment, which, like I said, is so rare. Most actors, the best thing they'll say is, "I didn't hate it," and it's just like, "Oh, what? I don't want you to hate it," you know?
Right. Oh
So
my.
for him to be so far on the other side of the spectrum of, thinking it was an Oscar-winning performance,
Right,
I was like,
right.
"Hey, if that means you're leaving here feeling good about yourself," and even if he had asked me for help, it's like, I'm not gonna be able to, elevate his craft in one little session to something else. So, to me, that was a win for him that he was, really feeling good about that work.
Yeah,
And my hope is that then he just continues to train.
yeah.
Um, but
I
then
hope
we have
so.
a thousand
He's
we
already
have a
there.
thousand
He's already there at the Oscar thing, so
exactly. But
I love
but then there's so many crazy stories of what casting has asked actors to do, that they'll come in and be like, so this is what I have to do, and so it's a constant new experience every day for us of like, what is this actor gonna have to do?
Mhm.
So yeah, so many stories when it comes to what happens in that taping room.
Now I'm gonna take this a little further. So if the walls of Get Taped could talk, what do you think they say about the actors?
Um, it would be this curiosity of why did they do it? Um,
Mm,
which you could take it two different ways. It could be that sort of because when the actors are coming in with the weight of the world, the weight of the industry, the amount of time it's been since their last booking,
mhm.
I think the walls would be like, something else might make you happier. And so, have you discovered your why? Like, what keeps you coming back? Is it,
Yeah.
I think it was like Einstein, his definition of insanity was doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome.
Mm.
Um, and so sometimes actors, I think the walls would be like, yeah, it seems like nothing is changing in terms of your mindset. And so I wonder if they know why they're doing it.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, right, especially because we're in a corporate building, so all of our neighbors are just like normal people doing normal
Mhm.
corporate jobs. So I think in that sense, the walls would also be like, I am fascinated, like with this. Like, why would anyone voluntarily choose to expose themselves like this, expose their
Yeah.
vulnerabilities, expose their inner, these inner parts of their personality? So I think it could be either way. The curiosity of the why, like why do they do this? Because it is so fascinating to the outside world.
Yeah. Wow. You know what? And that is such a good point, because most of us, we think we know why, but we don't have a clear reason. And I think what you're saying, it has to be, it should be clear. It should be clear, and then that way that it continues to help you go on your journey and stay inspired if you remember that, because sometimes we forget. I know I forget all the time. So so awesome. Now this is a little bit of a personal question, only because I love when people have businesses. I do believe that the more that they know about the person behind the business, the more that they trust your services and your advice and things like that. I promise you, it's not too personal. It's fun. It's fun. Okay, so we got to do this, and then we have a little bit of a rapid fire game I hope you will enjoy. So this is my last question. If we looked at your Netflix watch list or movie collection right now, what actor or movie would we find that you never get tired of watching?
Mm. Let's see. It would probably be, wow. There's a few. I'm thinking of like the stuff that we're watching right now, my wife and I, and whatnot. But like, um, it would. I'll just go with my gut. Chris Pratt. Um, and I've enjoyed his journey from sort of dopey actor on Parks and Recreation to becoming leading man, but also watching him navigate his personal life and not being shy about his faith, in a public way, which can be dangerous, for a big celebrity who is sort of at the top of their game to be so open with their spirituality or their religion like that. And he's just one of those guys that even if the project itself isn't that great,
Yeah,
I know that he won't ever sort of let me down in terms of like, yeah,
right.
that's Chris Pratt bringing Chris Pratt, and that's why I'm watching it. So,
So
yeah, he's the first one that comes to mind.
awesome, awesome. Now we're going to play a little bit of rapid fire. So one word answers only. You ready?
Great.
Self tape or in person audition?
In person.
Comedy or drama?
Comedy.
Marvel or DC?
Ooh, DC.
See, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Dream actor to work with?
Uh, Charlize Theron.
Awesome. The most underrated acting skill?
Improv.
Hmm. One word that describes Atlanta's film industry?
Um, Burgeoning. Sort of
Mm,
what I think I'm saying it right, like on the cusp of like exploding.
yeah. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for playing that with for
I
playing
love
that
that
with.
challenge.
So do me a favor, tell everybody how they can go if you have a website or social media, if they need to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Yeah. The website is gettape.com. There's a hyphen in there, so it's get-taped.com. On Instagram, it's just all one word, get taped,
Mhm.
which has the GETTAPED. We're not on TikTok, but we are also on Facebook. But Instagram is the best, or the website. and that's where you can learn about all of our services, and also then to get in touch with myself or Brooke or any of our staff.
Awesome. All right. Well, Matthew, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And to everyone watching, whether you're just getting started or you've been chasing your dreams for years, remember that every professional in this industry started as a beginner. Keep learning, keep growing, keep creating opportunities for yourself. I'm Demia Avery, and this has been the Demia Avery Show, the industry. Thank you, Matthew.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Have a good one.